The Galactic Council chamber was vast and cold, filled with shadows cast by towering pillars that reached high into the vaulted ceiling. As the assembly gathered, the council leader, a tall figure with scales that shimmered in the dim light, raised his hand to silence the murmurs. His voice cut through the chamber like steel. The humans have grown arrogant, unyielding to our requests for obedience. They believe themselves above the laws that govern this galaxy. He paused, his reptilian eyes narrowing. It is time we remind them of their place. Across the room, a lone council member shifted uncomfortably. His furred face bore an expression of hesitation as he stood up, addressing the council leader with a cautious tone. Are we certain this is wise, Commander Tval? Humanity is resilient. Their capacity for resistance is unlike any we have encountered. Tval's gaze turned cold. Resilience, Member Harak, does not equate to invincibility. Their stubbornness is a thorn that requires removal. Without further objection, Tval motioned toward a holographic display in the center of the chamber. A series of images appeared. Predatory creatures with razor-sharp fangs and hardened exoskeletons, creatures bred specifically for destruction. They were the Council's answer to defiance, a species engineered to annihilate. We will release the Xylograns upon Earth. They shall tear through human defenses and make it known that the Council's word is law. As the chamber filled with murmurs of approval, Harak's unease grew, but he knew better than to voice his concerns again. He sat back, his gaze fixed on the display. In his gut, he felt a warning, one that spoke of a dangerous underestimation of humanity. Meanwhile, on Earth, Captain Ethan Cole stood on the balcony of a military base hidden in the Rockies. The view was serene, masking the gravity of his daily duties. He was known by many names: Hitman, Shadow, Defender. Yet, to his team, he was simply Captain Cole, the relentless protector of humanity. Cole's communicator crackled, pulling him from his thoughts. Captain, we've received an encrypted message from off-world. Urgent. Cole's jaw tightened as he tapped the device on his wrist, activating the message. The hologram of an alien figure appeared, grainy but recognizable. It was Harak, the council member known for his sympathy toward Earth. Captain Cole. Harak's voice came through in broken English. The Council has decreed punishment upon your world. They released the Xylograns, predators engineered to hunt, kill, and consume. Prepare your defenses. The message ended as abruptly as it had started, leaving Cole staring at the empty space where Harak's image had been. He took a deep breath, his mind racing. He'd heard of the Xylograns, a terror spoken of in galactic circles but never unleashed. If the Council truly intended to send them, it was a declaration of war. He summoned his team, seasoned soldiers and tactical experts who had stood by him through countless interplanetary skirmishes. In the dim light of the strategy room, Cole's voice was steely. We're facing the Xylograns. They're brutal, intelligent, and relentless. But make no mistake, this is our planet, and we will not be their prey. His second-in-command, Lieutenant Sarachin, leaned forward, her brow furrowed. Captain, I've read about these creatures. They don't stop until every target is destroyed. How do we stand a chance against them? Cole met her gaze, his resolve unshaken. By turning their strengths into weaknesses. They're relentless, yes, but that makes them predictable. We'll set traps, fortify choke points, and draw them into areas where their numbers mean nothing. We fight smart, and we fight to the end. The team nodded, each member's expression hardening with determination. Cole had earned their loyalty not just through rank but through his refusal to ever leave anyone behind. His calm resolve was contagious, grounding them even as they prepared to face a nightmare. Outside, the night was silent, heavy with anticipation. Cole stepped onto the base's observation deck, his eyes scanning the skies. Somewhere, in the depths of space, a council fleet was likely en route, carrying their cargo of death. But if they thought humanity would crumble under their engineered monsters, they were in for a rude awakening. The hours passed in tense preparation. Cole's team set up barriers, automated defense systems, and high-energy traps that would hopefully slow the creatures down. Every strategy, every angle was covered. But Cole knew that no amount of preparation could truly predict the chaos that was coming. Then, just before dawn, the first signs appeared. A distant hum grew louder, rumbling through the mountains. Cole watched as streaks of light descended from the sky, fiery comets heralding the arrival of the Xylograns. The creatures landed, their exoskeletons glinting under the first rays of sunlight. They were monstrous, 8-legged, twice the height of a man, with mandibles that clicked in a haunting rhythm. They scanned their surroundings with dark, empty eyes, sniffing the air as if already tasting the blood of their prey. Cole lifted his communicator. "Team, they're here. Hold your positions. Remember, they're predators. They'll be looking for the weak, the isolated. Don't give them an inch." The creatures moved with terrifying precision, splitting into smaller groups as they advanced. Cole's team lay hidden, nerves steeled as they waited for the signal. The first wave of Xylograns reached a clearing lined with automated turrets, and with a single command from Cole, the valley exploded in a hail of gunfire and searing light. Screeches filled the air as the creatures recoiled, momentarily stunned by the barrage. But they adapted quickly. Cole watched as the Xylograns shifted tactics, some climbing trees to avoid the direct line of fire, others using their massive limbs to shield themselves as they pushed forward. Their intelligence was frightening, but Cole saw it as an opportunity. "Redirect them," he barked, guiding his team through tactical commands that led the creatures into carefully placed traps. Explosions tore through the forest, scattering debris and flames. The Xylograns faltered, confusion flashing across their alien faces. As the dust settled, Cole took a breath. They had won this round, but he knew this was only the beginning. The Council wouldn't stop, not until Earth lay in ruins, or until someone made them understand that humanity would never yield. Above, the sun rose higher, casting long shadows across the scarred landscape. Cole's gaze hardened, a fire igniting within him. If the Council wanted war, he would give them one they'd never forget. The predators had come, and humanity was ready to fight. The battlefield lay quiet, but it was a silence charged with anticipation, like the stretched tautness of a bowstring. Captain Ethan Cole scanned the clearing through his visor, his heartbeat a steady rhythm of determination. His team was spread across the terrain, every soldier perfectly concealed, waiting for the next move. The first encounter had given them a brief victory, but Cole knew better than to celebrate. The Xylograns were adaptable, bred for tactical learning as much as physical ferocity. Already, he could see evidence of their intelligence in the patterns they left in the aftermath, the way they had pulled back and regrouped. Their predatory patience reminded him of apex hunters, creatures who knew that one misstep could turn them from hunter to hunted. A faint rustle broke the silence. Chen's voice crackled over his earpiece, low and tense. "Captain, I've spotted movement on the east flank. Looks like they're testing us, keeping a cautious distance." Cole adjusted his position, narrowing his gaze. "They're strategizing. They won't charge headlong again." He paused, considering. "Prepare for adaptive maneuvers. They're watching how we respond." From his vantage point, Cole spotted a cluster of the creatures, weaving through the trees with unnerving coordination. Their exoskeletons caught slivers of sunlight, glinting like polished armor. He could see them moving with a calculated precision, split into smaller packs that probed the terrain as if testing its weaknesses. "Larson, Sterling, hold your fire until they're fully in the kill zone. We can't waste ammunition." Cole's command was measured, the words resonating with a calm authority that steadied his team's nerves. The forest felt suffocating, each soldier locked into their positions, straining to remain silent as the Xylograns crept closer. Cole's breath slowed, his senses attuned to every sound, every shift in the shadows. Then, just as the creatures neared the kill zone, he gave the signal. A thunderous roar erupted as the hidden turrets unleashed a hailstorm of fire. The ground quaked with the force of the assault, trees splintering under the blast, and the Xylograns reeled, their segmented limbs flailing. For a moment, it seemed they were caught off guard, their formation scattered. Cole felt a glimmer of hope. Perhaps they had miscalculated. But then, in a chilling display of intelligence, the creatures adjusted, shielding their vulnerable spots as they pushed forward through the barrage. Cole's heart sank as he watched the lead Xylogram signal to its pack, guiding them with a series of guttural clicks and chirps. The other Xylograms mirrored its movement, ducking and weaving as they closed in. "They're using their own dead as shields," Chen whispered, horrified. "They're learning fast, Captain." Cole clenched his jaw, a bead of sweat tracing down his temple. "Then we'll have to be faster." He activated his communicator, signaling his team to switch tactics. "Chin, redirect the turrets to Grid 3. We need to lure them into tighter terrain where they can't use their numbers to their advantage." Cole's team responded with quick, silent precision, adjusting their positions as the Xylograms funneled toward the narrow valley to the east. The creatures seemed momentarily confused, their ranks thinning as they followed the humans into the tight passage. Larson, from his perch on a ledge overlooking the valley, radioed in. "Captain, they're in position. All units standing by." Cole allowed himself a brief moment of satisfaction. "Wait for my mark," he commanded. "We'll hit them hard, fast, and from all sides." The Xylograms moved into the valley, advancing with a brutal determination, their black eyes scanning the cliff faces with a strange awareness. Cole could feel the tension in his team, waiting, watching, fingers poised on triggers. He held his breath, counting the seconds, letting the anticipation build. Then, in one smooth motion, he gave the order. "Now!" Explosives detonated along the cliff, sending a cascade of rock tumbling down onto the creatures below. Shrapnel and debris filled the air as Cole's team unleashed a coordinated assault, gunfire blazing from all sides. The Xylograms, pinned and unable to maneuver, were forced into a vicious melee, snapping their jaws and clawing at the rocky enclosure as they fell under the relentless assault. But even as they began to falter, their resolve did not waver. In their final moments, the Xylograms fought with a desperate tenacity, each creature intent on taking down as many humans as it could before succumbing to its injuries. When the dust settled, the valley was littered with the mangled bodies of Xylograms. Cole exhaled slowly, his gaze sweeping over the aftermath. The air was thick with the smell of charred flesh and scorched earth, the metallic tang of gunpowder lingering in his lungs. He glanced at his team, each soldier bruised and battered but standing, their eyes alight with a grim satisfaction. They had survived another wave, but he knew better than to let down his guard. As he checked his communicator, a low beeping alerted him to an incoming message. It was a secure transmission from Harak, the council member who had warned them of the initial attack. Cole listened, his face darkening as Harak's voice came through. "Captain Cole." Harak's tone was strained, almost remorseful. "The council has escalated the plan. Reinforcements are en route, a new strain, more intelligent, more aggressive. The Xylograms you faced were but the first wave." Cole's mind raced, but he forced himself to remain calm. "Understood," he replied, keeping his voice steady. "What else can you tell us?" Harak hesitated, as if grappling with some inner turmoil. "They will not stop until Earth is subjugated, Captain. They see your resistance as defiance that cannot be tolerated. But I will do what I can to send information. Be prepared." The line cut out, leaving Cole in a silence that felt heavier than before. He turned to his team, his expression hardening as he relayed the message. Their faces reflected a mix of anger and exhaustion, but Cole could see the spark of resolve in each of their eyes. Chen was the first to speak, her voice edged with fierce determination. "So, they want to bring more? Let them. We're not backing down." Cole nodded, feeling the familiar surge of battle-hardened grit. "They underestimated us once. They won't get the chance to do it again." Above them, the sky darkened as storm clouds gathered, a fitting backdrop to the escalating conflict. Cole squared his shoulders, glancing back toward the blood-soaked valley. They had survived the first wave, but now the real fight was beginning. And if the Council wanted a war, then that was exactly what Earth would give them. The Predators were coming again, but this time, they wouldn't find an easy victory waiting for them. The night sky over the Rockies was a dark expanse, deep and foreboding. The clouds had cleared, and a harsh, brittle cold settled over the landscape. Captain Ethan Cole stood at the edge of a cliff overlooking the ravaged valley below, his gaze scanning the horizon with attention that mirrored the stillness around him. His team was spread out, on high alert, each member ready for the inevitable. He turned as Lieutenant Sarah Chin approached, her face set in grim determination. "We've run the diagnostics," she reported. "The Xylogram corpses show significant biomodifications. It's as if the Council adapted them specifically to withstand our initial defenses." Cole clenched his fists, considering. "If they're testing our limits, they're gathering intel on our tactics. We have to assume the next wave will come with new adaptations." He paused, his voice quiet but firm. "We need to get creative." Just then, his communicator vibrated, a secure message from Harak. The council member had risked much to provide them with intel, and Cole respected him for it. He activated the communicator, Harak's face appearing on the small screen, his fur matted with anxiety. "Captain Cole," Harak began, his tone urgent. "The council has accelerated their plans. The Xylograms you faced were a scouting unit. They were never intended to win, only to observe. The council's next deployment is unlike anything you've encountered." Cole felt a chill, but he kept his voice steady. "What are we up against, Harak?" Harak's eyes flickered, an emotion bordering on regret passing over his face. "They're calling them the Apex strain. Engineered from multiple predator species, enhanced with neural implants. They're not just hunters, Captain. They're strategists." Cole's jaw tightened. "How much time do we have?" "Hours at most," Harak replied, his voice somber. "But there is one thing I must tell you. The Apex strain operates with a hive mentality. They will coordinate. They think as one." The screen blinked off, and Cole stared at it for a moment, absorbing the weight of the news. This wasn't just a wave of beasts, it was an intelligent swarm, able to strategize as a single mind. He turned back to Chin, the gravity of the situation etched into his features. "Listen up," he called to his team, rallying them around him. "We're not just dealing with creatures this time. They're intelligent, coordinated, and relentless. These aren't predators, they're tacticians. We'll need to approach them like we're facing an army." His team exchanged glances, their resolve unwavering but a flicker of apprehension passing through them. Cole continued, his tone steady. "We'll be using diversionary tactics. Traps won't be enough. We need to split them up, isolate smaller groups, and take them down with precision. We can't let them overwhelm us with their numbers or coordination." Chin spoke up, her voice tight but determined. "Captain, I suggest we move to the eastern ridge. It has natural choke points. We can guide them into bottlenecks and attack from multiple angles." Cole nodded. "Good thinking, Chin. Let's set up there. And remember, this is about outsmarting them. If they think as one, we'll have to fight like we're 10 minds." The team moved quickly, trekking to the ridge under the cover of darkness. Their footsteps were muted against the frost-crusted earth, breaths clouding in the icy air as they readied their positions. Cole could feel the tension building, a taut thread straining under the weight of anticipation. Then, in the distance, he heard it, a faint, almost mechanical hum, underscored by the low, rumbling growls of the approaching apex strain. Cole's pulse quickened. He crouched low, motioning for his team to remain silent. Every sound was amplified in the stillness as the rumbling grew louder, filling the night with an eerie resonance. The creatures emerged from the shadows, their forms distorted by the faint light. Unlike the Xylograms, these apex-strain predators were streamlined, agile, and far more terrifying. Their dark, glossy exoskeletons reflected an unnatural sheen, and their eyes glowed with a calculated intelligence. They moved with synchronized precision, their gaze sweeping over the terrain as if assessing every inch. Cole observed, his heart pounding. The apex strain didn't charge blindly. Instead, they advanced slowly, scanning for signs of ambush, their senses heightened as they approached the team's concealed positions. "Hold your fire," Cole whispered, his voice barely audible. "Wait until they're within the choke point." The creatures continued, creeping toward the narrow pass where his team lay in wait. Cole counted silently, his fingers twitching on the trigger, adrenaline thrumming through his veins. "Now!" he commanded, and a storm of fire erupted from the ridge. The apex strain reacted instantly, their movements sharp and deliberate, evading the blasts with a startling agility. Cole's team unleashed everything they had, but these creatures adapted, weaving through the onslaught with ruthless efficiency. Suddenly, the apex strain shifted tactics. As one, they lunged into the choke point, forcing their way forward despite the barrage. Cole cursed under his breath. They were pressing through, willing to take losses for the advantage of proximity. "Chun, back to Formation B!" Cole barked, his mind racing. They had to disrupt the hive's coordination. "Larson, flank them! Draw them out!" Larson sprinted to the edge of the ridge, firing strategically to divert the creature's attention. A section of the apex strain split off, following him, their hive mentality momentarily fractured. Cole seized the opening, ordering his team to redirect fire on the isolated group. Explosions tore through the air as the separated apex strain fell under the concentrated assault. But the victory was short-lived. The remaining creatures adjusted, regrouping with terrifying speed, and resumed their relentless advance. One creature's gaze fixed on Cole, its eyes gleaming with a predatory cunning. In that moment, he realized these beings weren't just animals. They were war machines, engineered with purpose and awareness. Cole gritted his teeth, recalibrating. "Fall back to the inner ridge!" he shouted, rallying his team. "We need to change the pattern, keep them off balance." His team retreated in controlled movements, firing in intervals to slow the creature's progress. But the apex strain adapted to each tactic with unnerving precision, their steps relentless, calculated. Every inch they lost, they reclaimed with brutal efficiency. As they reached the inner ridge, Cole knew they were nearing their limit. Sweat mingled with the cold on his brow, his breath coming in heavy bursts as he glanced at his team. They were exhausted, battered, but their resolve held firm. In the distance, more shadows appeared, larger forms moving behind the current wave. Cole's heart sank as he realized the Council had dispatched reinforcements yet again. The apex strain wasn't just relentless, it was infinite. And now, they faced not only the swarm before them but the looming threat of endless waves. Cole steadied himself, gripping his weapon. They would stand here, fighting as long as they could. And if humanity's fate rested on their shoulders, they would make their stand with courage. "Hold the line," he commanded, his voice steely. "If this is where we end, we'll make them remember it." The air around the inner ridge crackled with tension, thick with the anticipation of the looming onslaught. Captain Ethan Cole's team huddled in the shadows, silent and resolute, as the apex strain predators regrouped below. Their gleaming exoskeletons reflected the moonlight, each movement precise, their collective intelligence palpable. Cole felt the weight of responsibility settling on his shoulders, the fate of Earth seemingly condensed into this single standoff. His communicator buzzed, and he saw Harak's message flash onto his screen. Harak had been risking his position in the Council for this intel, and Cole respected him for his courage. "Captain Cole," Harak's voice came through, strained and solemn. "This is it. The Council has committed their full resources. You faced the last wave, but it is the most dangerous. Their leadership has integrated into the swarm. If you take down this final push, Earth stands a chance." Cole nodded, the gravity of Harak's words tightening his resolve. He turned to his team, each face illuminated in the dim glow of their equipment. They were battered, fatigued, but their eyes held the gleam of defiance. These were fighters, resilient to the core, each one willing to lay down everything to defend their home. "Listen up." Cole's voice was low but commanding. "This is the last wave. They've combined everything they have into one final push, led by their strongest. We've held the line so far, and if we can hold it a little longer, we win. They're intelligent, but so are we." Chin clenched her jaw, a determined gleam in her eye. "They won't take a single step without paying for it." Cole gave a brief nod. "We fight smart and conserve our strength. Hit hard, fall back, hit again. Draw them into ambush zones. We use the terrain to our advantage." The team moved into their positions, every step measured. The quiet before the storm settled over them, broken only by the distant hum of the apex strain's approach. Cole exhaled, steadying himself, every nerve attuned to the coming clash. Suddenly, the apex strains surged forward. They moved like a well-oiled machine, their movements fluid and coordinated, each creature's steps mirroring the next. This was no chaotic swarm. It was an army, led by a powerful intelligence that pulsed through every creature in the ranks. Cole didn't wait. "Engage!" he barked, and his team sprang into action, their weapons flaring to life, illuminating the ridge with bursts of energy. The apex strain bore down on them, resilient against the onslaught, their coordination unsettlingly precise. Larson fired, hitting an advancing predator squarely, but its body barely faltered, absorbed by those behind it. Cole gritted his teeth. This was unlike any battle they'd fought. These creatures had a singular focus, an implacable drive to reach the humans who defied them. "Hold position!" Cole shouted. "Concentrate fire on the leaders! Break their command chain!" Chen and the others adjusted their aim, targeting the larger creatures leading the swarm. Explosions rocked the ground as energy rounds found their marks. One of the apex leaders stumbled, its neural connection severed, causing a ripple of disarray in the swarm. The distraction was short-lived. The apex strain quickly recalibrated, filling the gaps and continuing their assault, pushing forward with unrelenting momentum. Cole's mind raced. They needed something more decisive, a blow that would shatter the cohesion of the hive mind. An idea took root. It was risky, desperate, but it might be their only shot. "Chen, Larson, cover me!" Cole ordered, his voice laced with resolve. "I'm going in." Chen's eyes widened. "Captain, that's suicide!" "It's a gamble," he replied, locking eyes with her. "But it's our best chance. If I can take out their core, the rest will fall. Trust me." Before Chen could protest, Cole dashed down the slope, weaving through the hail of gunfire and screeches of the apex strain. His pulse thundered as he closed the distance, his eyes trained on the lead predator, a massive creature with an armored crest and pulsing implants. This was the core, the brain behind the swarm. The apex strain seemed to sense his approach. They turned, several of them breaking formation to intercept him. Chen and the others fired relentlessly, clearing his path, the air around him filled with the sharp tang of scorched metal and ozone. Cole lunged, evading snapping mandibles and lashing claws as he neared the core. The creature's dark, gleaming eyes met his, a flash of intelligence within them, as if it recognized him as the ultimate threat. With one last burst of strength, Cole leaped onto the core creature, his hands gripping the edges of its exoskeleton. The creature thrashed, its limbs flailing, but Cole held on, plunging his weapon into a weak point he'd spotted just below its crest. The apex core shrieked, a sound that resonated through the entire swarm. Its body convulsed, its neural implants sparking wildly as Cole twisted the weapon deeper. The light in its eyes dimmed, and in that instant, the collective intelligence of the swarm fractured. Around him, the remaining apex strains staggered, their coordinated movements dissolving into erratic spasms. Cole scrambled back, watching as the hive collapsed, each predator now moving aimlessly, their unity shattered. Chen's voice came through his earpiece, breathless. "You did it, Captain! They're breaking down." Cole watched as his team picked off the stragglers, the once deadly swarm now a disjointed collection of disoriented creatures. Relief washed over him, mingling with exhaustion as he fell to one knee, catching his breath. The battlefield grew silent, the apex strain finally defeated. The morning sun began to rise over the ridge, casting a warm glow over the ravaged terrain, illuminating the price they'd paid, but also the victory they'd secured. Cole stood, looking at his team, each of them battered but alive, their expressions a mix of relief and triumph. Earth had held its ground. Just then, his communicator buzzed once more. Harak's voice was filled with admiration and awe. "Captain Cole, the Council has witnessed your victory. They know now what humanity is capable of. I do not believe they will challenge Earth again." Cole gave a faint, weary smile. "Let them remember, Harak. We don't yield." He turned to his team, nodding to each of them. They had survived not just by their strength but by their will, by their refusal to give in. The Council had learned a lesson that day, one that would echo across the stars. As the sun rose fully over the horizon, Cole knew their fight had been for more than just survival. It was a declaration, a testament to humanity's resilience and unbreakable spirit. They had faced the darkness, and they had won.